Hi, I am Desiree Dibasen Nanuses. I am a Chester Dale Interdisciplinary Fellow for the year 2021 to 2022, based in the Department of Modern and Contemporary Art at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The title of my research paper pertaining to my PhD is The Politics of My Skin. And this stems from a conversation that I had with my dad in 1996. In 1990, when I was attending grade one, I was in a Namara school because it was not yet independence. And in March 1990, when Namibia had independence, then my parents, who were both teachers, they decided, well, now you have to go to the colored school, because that was like the next place for you to go to. And I arrived at this colored school, couldn't speak a word of English or Afrikaans, only knew my indigenous language, and my mom had to end up teaching me at home both English and Afrikaans, otherwise they were going to put me a grade back. And I came back in grade three, actually having advanced, progressed well, and I knew both languages, and then the entire education system kind of moved to it from being Afrikaans towards English, and then I kind of had the upper hand, right? So by the time I had to choose a high school, this is the conversation with my dad where I tell him, no, I'm not going to that German school. You want me to feel stupid again? And I want to go to the English school because I could speak English. And he blatantly told me, you will go to that German school and you will learn everything they know. And the only difference between you and them will be the color of your skin. Yeah. The politics of my skin is a bit of a difficult situation to navigate because I had to find myself in spaces. I had to find myself becoming and adapting to what the situation called at the time. Not always could you be what you needed to be, because now I was inhabiting spaces of museums and galleries, and what that calls you to be, and how you need to present, and how this was taught to me. And at the same time, while I was pursuing my Master of Arts degree in London at Kingston University, I was visiting museums, and we had to do critiques and exhibitions, and continuously, repeatedly, over and over, I found myself seeing what I was doing already as a practice for the past 7 years at the National Art Gallery of Namibia. And it brought me to a pondering, what do I, as a curator of a person of color, what do I do differently? How do I present our objects in a more authentic manner that will be deemed more respectful? And this was the question that I was going through, mulling in my mind for a while. And I came across this quote while I was writing up my thesis. As they circulate through our lives, we look through objects to see what they disclose about history, society, nature, or culture. Above all, what they disclose about us, but we only catch a glimpse of things. And Bill Brown said this in Think Theory in 2001. And now I wish to invite you on a journey where we will be looking through objects and pictures, as I will be taking you on what I call my version of what's my story, so that you get to experience what it was being like looking at exhibitions, also looking at artworks, looking at artists, and how I can then, through this research discusses strategies to decolonize canonical art by placing post-colonial scholarship into dialogue with newly emerging forms of scholarship that seek to critically rethink contemporary curatorial practice. The larger aim of this research project is to develop critical forms of curatorial research that serve as a model for decolonizing curatorial practice. The curatorial practices that will be studied are responses to existing collections by contemporary makers, artists, architects, and designers displayed within the same space of existing historical and colonial objects. Titus Kafa's monumental inversions serves as a first example of such critical approach. Monumental inversions consist of a series of sculptures looking at traditional monuments of the United States of America's forefathers. One example is Language of the Forgotten, created in 2017, a cut-out mold of the bust of Thomas Jefferson's head in profile, and in the front of it an image of Sally Hemings, a female slave believed to be the mother of Jefferson's children, etched on a piece of glass. This series brings into focus the conversation around the removal of Confederate sculptures in the South and resonates with Namibia's removal of the monument Reiterdenkmal in 2013. This can be compared to the Rhodes Must Fall protest movements. This slide that you are seeing is by Edson Nicolai. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And this was a submission to the landscape exhibition, which is a collections exhibition that took place at the National Art Gallery of Namibia in the year 2020. The argument for taking such statues down is often appropriate, but for some, the removal of these statues is an act of erasure, the disappearance of proof of a troubling past. Kafar's monumental inversions and Nicolai's the more things change, the more they stay the same, reconcile these two arguments by creating a space that equally exhibits the absence and presence of these figures. Denise Murrell's Posing Modernity, concentrating on the period from the French Revolution to the mid-20th century in France, offers a second example by showing how images of people of color have been constructed, deconstructed, and reconstructed in response to the political and social tendencies of society and artists over time. By adopting a cross-disciplinary approach covering the history of art, history of ideas, and anthropology, an increasing number of artists and scholars critically address aesthetic, political, and social issues inherent in curatorial practice.